Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Khurram Qureshi's podcast. Today, I have exceptional honor and privilege to have a special guest in my podcast, no other than CEO and Regional Chair of Durham, John Henry.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, John Henry, and I'm so glad that you joined our podcast. How are you today?
It's a great day in Durham region. There's lots of exciting things happening, and I get to spend an hour or so with you today. So it's a good day.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming by. And I know your schedule was so packed. You were telling me everything you were doing this weekend. So glad that you made it. So thank you.
Thank you.
So please, let's just start with your introduction. Where are you from? Tell us about your family stuff and a little history of yours.
Well, I was born in Oshawa in 1960, so I'll be 63 this year. I'm the oldest of four children. Grew up. My mom and dad were both auto workers. So my dad was a foreman in the plant in Oshawa, and then when my mom had me, she left the workforce and stayed at home and was a stay-at-home mom with four kids. And my mom was a big influence in our families. My dad, he worked a lot, and he worked shift work. So we'd see him 2 out of 4 weeks of the month. He would be around, and then the other 2 weeks he'd be working nights. And if you're lucky, you'd see him when you got up in the morning to go to school. But really, Mom ran the house and kept us all. I made sure that we all behaved.
Intact, and certainly there was a big role moms play when father worked extra hard. Same here too, in the business I have to work overclock and sometimes on the weekend too. Look, I'm here on the Sunday as well, so I must give the credit to my wife too. She took care of the family well. So when you were growing up and as a boy turning into a man, what lessons did you learn from your father, and what lesson you wanted to learn from your father when you were growing up, when you were a child?
Well, with my dad and with my brothers and my sisters, my dad's work ethic was amazing. His ability to get up every day and go to work and do the things that he did. My dad suffered with some challenges in his life. He suffered from a disease called osteomyelitis, which is really an infection of the bone marrow. Today it's cured with Keflex, but when he was a child, penicillin was just invented. So he really suffered right up till I was in my mid-20s. But my dad was also deaf. So my dad had limited hearing in one ear, no hearing in the other ear. So when you had a conversation with my dad, you had to face him. He could read your lips. He knew what was going on. He did very well at General Motors for someone who had his challenges, to be able to manage a group of people that delivered just-in-time materials to the line to build cars. But he had his challenges, and looking back at my dad and his life was part of what giving back to your community would be. My mom was part of, no matter how busy her life was with four kids, she always found time to go to school, to do all the fundraisers, to make sure that we got to the sports that we played. And between the two of them, they raised the four of us. There's a big difference in age. I'm 9 years older than my sister, so there was a decade there where there was a Henry in the same school for a long period of time. I'm sure the school had a big sigh of relief when the final Henry graduated and moved on.
That's good. That's good. And how was your relationship with your siblings?
It's interesting. I'm 2 years older than my immediate younger brother, 6 years older than my next brother, and then there's 9 years between my sister and I. So my brother Trevor and I, we tended to play sports together because we were so close in age. So we played hockey together. We played on the same lacrosse team in high school. We worked together. When he graduated from college, he came and worked for the company I was working at for a few years, but until he got focused into a different direction. And then my younger brother Tom, I watched him grow up, was able to travel a little bit with him. when he was younger, and then my sister, I just really watched her grow up. By the time she was, she was, 10 years old, I was already 19, well established into my career, and did spend time with her, but not as much as I would have been if I was closer in age.
I see. I see. You use that the term at 19 you were well established in your career. So would you like to put a spotlight because age of 19 is very early age to be established as a career.
So I'm very lucky in a lot of ways. So when I was in high school, there was a gentleman who owned a company that lived next door to my parents, and I was a big kid, almost as big as I am now. And he came out one day, and I was out. We were playing road hockey actually, and he said, "I've got this project, and could you come work for me for a couple hours?" So I helped him on that project. He didn't know at that time that I was 14. He didn't ask. I didn't tell him.
Okay.
And I helped install a building full of furniture for him. When I turned 16, he asked me if I would, work part-time for him. By the time I was 17, I was going to school, high school, and I was working at high school full-time, working for him maybe 20 hours a week. In my last year of high school, I was working 30 hours a week for him, going to school. And when I graduated from high school, I was already started on my first trade, which is I'm a light machine mechanic. So I fix, at that time, a fine surveying equipment, but the magnetic card surveying equipment, typewriters, photocopiers. It was an interesting field in the 70s. Nobody ever thought we would be developed as we are today. But I'm very lucky. I have a number of trades, and my first trade was I'm a light machine mechanic.
Incredible, incredible. And this is the person that you were talking about, the Italian mentor of yours?
Well, when we met, I had a chance to talk about how there are people in the world that give their time to get to people who they see have potential in them. The way a teacher invests time in students when they see you have an interest in something. So it was rare for someone in my age to be interested in the mechanics of business equipment. And this gentleman, his name's Giulio Rocchio, actually trained me. In those days, there was no school for what we did. You sat down with somebody who had been trained by somebody else. And he took the time and invested a lot of time in me to get me to where I was very successful in the field, doing repairing equipment, and taught me a lot of the skills I carry today about being on time, about if you promise to do something that you need to do it. Even today we have lunch together, not as often as I'd like to, but I try to have lunch with Giulio once a month to make sure I talk to him. I grew up with his kids. I know his grandkids. He's heavily involved in his community. He's involved in the Italian community. So he's been a great mentor, a good friend, and kind of like my second dad.
I love to hear that, how you're giving him credit and how you say it, he's kind of like my second dad. These are really respectful words of honor to the man that who gave you time one-on-one and treated you like son and end up raising you well. And he realized the potential that you were a hardworking man, but your father was working double shifts and he couldn't have time, so he took you under your wings.
Yeah, my dad was still around, but ironically, in the world that I worked in, I worked in General Motors as a contractor and often interacted with my father in the plant. There was a time in the beginning when I'd go into General Motors and I'd be doing something and somebody would go up to my father and say, "Earl, is that John Henry in the plant related to you?" And he'd go, "It would be, yeah, that would be my son." And then in the later years, people would say to me "Hey, you're in the plant again. Is that Earl Henry person your dad?" And I go, "Yes, he is." So I had a privilege. I worked
Yes.
probably within 80% of the businesses in the Durham region. We worked for everybody: General
Wow.
Motors, Chrysler, all the car dealerships, all the regional municipal governments, small businesses. We had a very successful business, but knowing that the world was changing, and I changed from being repairing equipment to electromechanics to electronics to fiber optics, but I was always encouraged by people around me to continue. So that got me to places all over North America, and I got to do some things and that I'm really proud of. Things that I would probably never do in today's life, but it got me several other trades,
Correct.
and I'm proud of what I was able to do, and how what I learned, even though it's 30 years ago, all of those skills are carried forward. One of the most important skills for young people today is if you start work at 8 o'clock in the morning, then you start work at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Correct.
That's not when you go to the coffee maker. That's not when you do your boots up. If you're on a construction site, you've done all that before you get there. And when you show up, you start at the right time, and you follow the direction of the people that are there to make sure the work gets done, but more importantly, keep you safe.
Absolutely. And this is extremely important in the modern times. Distraction is all over. And with that distraction, kids and the youth couldn't be able to focus on their careers, on their studies, on the work. I get co-op students all the time at my company in Digibix, and I get some attentive kids and some non-attentive kids. And I try to mentor them with the permission of their teachers, and wanted to explain it to them, the value of time, value of showing up. I want you to show up on time. Don't show up early and then socialize. Don't show up late, definitely is not good. Just show up on time, but be alert. Make sure that you're ready for work. You don't walk in and then you take the washroom break. It just doesn't make sense, because I'm ready to give you the task, ask you what you're doing, how you're doing, and we can get started, and then you wanted to take a break. So these things add professionalism in the youth, and that's what we needed. And what I'm realizing is we tend to seek help on Google and online, but we're not seeking help around us, the people who are entrepreneurs like you and I, and say, listen, I want to sit down with you, I want to learn from you. So the person like Julius, saw the spark in you, but you saw the spark in him, and you put the dedication and hard work into it. That's why he was teaching you. And please call me in the next lunch. I would love to meet that gentleman. It would be my honor, and I would love to invite him over here too, if you can. So that would be great. We
Well,
want to learn.
I hope to have Julio. I do an address to the business community once a year here in the southern part of the region along the lakeshore. So there's an event where the chambers and the boards of trade are coming together, where I'll be the speaker.
Next month on May
Yeah.
23rd is coming.
So
Mayor Regional Luncheon.
the regional luncheon. So I hope to have Julio there for just to say thank you. I bring him to events. I introduce him as my dad, and I'm really lucky. And he's still invested. He's invested still invested in me. We talk regularly. He's invested in my children.
Wow.
He he always asks me when he sees me. He's generally interested in what's going on in my life and what we're doing.
Wow.
And he's not a political person, but he follows politics. He's always quick to tell me when I've done something well, and then he reminds me sometimes when I could have done things better. And if even in our world, criticism is a great tool. It's some people take criticism as being offended by it, but we're all striving to do better, and the only way to understand how we can get better as individuals is to know when we've done something that's not right. And it's not meant to be hurtful. It's just meant to trying to make you think a different way, be better at what you do, be stronger. But yeah, he's amazing. His son and his daughter, like my brother and sister.
Wow.
We grew up together, and yeah, and he's always encouraged me, even separate from my world, because I went back to school a number of times, and I always came back to what I'm doing now. And he's always been supportive, the same way my wife Kathy has been. From the first time I met her to even today, Kathy's always encouraging me to do more. She's very quick to say, you could have done something, or to tell me there's something going on that I should be aware of. And she is an amazing business person. She's was one of the first female associates in Shoppers Drug Mart Corporation, and then she's raised two amazing daughters, and now we have 2.5 grandchildren, and one on the way.
Glad to know. Glad to know. And so nice of you, like, complimenting your wife too. And this is indeed a very good thing. Men couldn't be successful without their wives.
Oh, you're absolutely right. It's it's a partnership. It's in the true meaning of a partnership.
True.
It's we're a couple. We're married. There's that part of our lives, but then you look at they often say behind every successful man there's a woman. I really think it's the other way. Is that I'm successful because of Kathy. She's the reason I got into politics.
Here we go. Here you go. I would love to meet Kathy too, and she's my next guest. I tell you, like, the people's name you're gonna take, I'm gonna invite them, because this is what the podcast is about. I want to listen to from the true Canadians who born, raised, or like migrated here and grown up, and made it where they are, and transfer that to the youth as a message. You have a chance, and if you think that you struggle, all your ancestors did the same thing too.
Oh.
So don't think that you're struggling, they did it, or they got to any position just by sleeping over and partying. No.
No, no. Well, my family immigrated here in the early 1800s, and
Oh my God.
and there were no highways.
Yes, I can imagine.
You either landed at Halifax or Montreal. They landed in Montreal, and they and moved came from Ireland and moved to Ontario and started there. But there was no roads. There was no grocery stores on the corner. You had to basically be self-sufficient to look after your family. And I still have family that still farms. My brothers and sister don't farm, but my cousins all still farm. And it's tough work, but the principles are all the same.
Yes.
Technology has gotten to the point where we're in a room today and you've got this amazing technology around us, but that technology carries on into every aspect of our lives. We've got entire farms now that are run by young people using iPhones. The world has changed,
Yes.
and we're lucky here in Canada that we have a technology rich country.
Correct.
We've got amazing schools
Yes.
where young people can go and graduate from. We've got people that give of their time to train people to get them better. And we live in one of the most interesting times in the history of the world here in Canada right now. I think the challenge is that we're used to going from over the course of 100 years there might have been change, and then 50 years of change, and then 10 years of change, and now in our world change happens daily, monthly. How we do things is substantially different. Just as a big example, it was in 1988 the floppy disk was introduced.
Yes.
They thought that was going to change the world. It wasn't until a few years later that the smartphone, not the iPhone, but the
Yes.
smartphone
Yes.
was there. And then now you've got basically something in your pocket that's equal to the computing power of the first computer on the lunar module that went to the moon. But for today, technology can be a friend.
Yes.
Hard work will always succeed. And in Durham, in particularly in Durham region, but in this country, we're at an all-time low for unemployment. We're down just over 4%, which is considered being almost zero employment. And there are jobs out there for young people now where 5, 6, 7 years ago it didn't seem to be.
Yes.
But now you're hearing the great stories of companies like General Motors who left and came back.
Correct.
Now you've got Kubota and Toyota and SKF Foods and Bad Boy and small modular nuclear reactors and even at the region of Durham right now, there are we've got a billboard up on our own property looking to attract people to come and work in regional government. So for young people, hope is a job that pays a living wage. And right now, if you put a little bit of effort into it and get through school,
You're right.
there's a really good opportunity for you to get a job and live that lifestyle that we all dream of, that your parents had when you were born, and now what you have for your kids.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. But besides that, learning and doing the job, what I like about you, and I have the same mantra as well, keep learning. Never phase out the learning phase, and never think that the one skill is going to get you succeed. Right now, we need workforce in the offices and manufacturing and all trades, but we need multitasking work trade. We need them to do multiple things. For example, if I hire the designer in my company, well, I don't have all the designing all the time. I do have some animation work. I have some editing work. I have some coding work. I have some content writing work. So you got to offer at least 2 to 3 things in order to be well fit in the modern economy and all that. And while learning in the young age, in teens and 20s, just go all the way, just like you did. You switch so many different things and learn so many trades. And I'm surprised, you work in the lathe machining as well as the electronics and then fiber optics. And that makes you very tech savvy early on. And that helps you in the decision making later on in this stage when you hit the prime of your career by holding the position like a regional chair. And that affects the decision making. But if you just stuck yourself in only the one trade and stuff, that is fine too, but it doesn't give you a vast 360 degrees of thinking process. And this is a true leadership, Mr. John Henry. I must give you the credit. You've done well.
Well, thank you, but it's I've done well because people have helped me get to where I am today. This isn't me. So I often say when we're at that address that will happen with the chambers, every day I have 6,000 people that hold me up. I'm the one that gets out there to speak on behalf of the people at the region, but I'm telling their story. It's about the work that our police and paramedics and our public health nurses and our daycare people and our water treatment plant, but everything that they do makes our community successful. I'm the one that gets to go out and tell this amazing story of what's happening in our community. But in business, it's still the same thing. Presidents and CEOs of companies have all these talented people that come and work for them. And really good managers, they empower their people and give them the skills to do their job. And then when they shine, the corporation shines. And it's not an I world, it's a we world. It's not me, it's us.
You said it. So I mentioned it to the youth, see any games or see any movies from 40 years ago or 30 years ago. It started only with a one title: Paramount Pictures, Columbia Pictures, or Universal Pictures. Now you see any movie, 10, 15, or even 18-year-old, it started with Paramount Pictures in association with Columbia Pictures and in partnership with this. So what's happening is collaboration. Nobody can go without a collaboration. And as the great mayor of Ajax, town of Ajax, Mayor Steve Parrish said it multiple times, that government needs a partnership from the private sector. And that's what we need moving forward to be successful collectively in Canada. So yes, I was actually saying that I was going to join that luncheon for sure. And that's the collaboration that we are talking about, that organizations needs to work together. So I approached the age expectant board of trade and spoke to one of the members there on the organization committee and told them like I would like to sponsor that regional chair's luncheon to film the entire event on video as they have only photography option. They declined because I'm not the member.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yes. So this is exactly what I wrote in the email reply. Not all sponsors, contributors, volunteers, and supporters can be your member, but they're bringing value for you because they want to see the business community thrive. So if you can be able to approach them and say they're charging no fee, just let them do it. They will help you raise awareness and the content for the youth to follow. So that's the thing. So give me a little bit of the transition. What made you move into the politics? Why Kathy convinced you?
Well, that's an amazing question. So I had no desire to be involved in politics. It wasn't something that a path that had chosen. But in Oshawa, I was coming home from work one night, and we were building. They were trying to build a cancer center, and the council of the day in the city of Oshawa, there was some challenges. There was even lawsuits. The council was divided. The goal was to get the cancer center built. So I came home, and my wife and I were having this discussion, and Kathy just simply said, well, businesses hire you to help them, and you solve problems. Run for office and solve this problem. So I was fairly naive because I didn't really understand municipal politics at all, even though I'd been around in the city and grew up here. And so I ran against an incumbent, and I lost. And it was an interesting experience. And you're not everybody is successful all the time, but time went by, and the problem hadn't been solved. And Kathy said, well, run again. So this time I was a little bit, I was not so naive, and I got an excellent team of people around me that believed in what we were trying to do and believed in me, which was really supportive, and ran against the same person and won. And then there was some other challenges, and the city wasn't moving in a direction that I thought it could, coming from a business background and seeing that we could do more things. So I challenged the mayor in the next term and beat the mayor and became the mayor of the city of Oshawa. All the time I still owned my businesses. So when I became mayor in the city of Oshawa, I moved my businesses to the side so that I wouldn't have any conflicts, and was able to bring a lot of the teachings that I had learned from how to manage people in business within companies. And we were in customer service oriented style business, so it was important that we could bring those skills into an area that really operated very differently. It was a very steep learning curve, and we were able to do some really big, bold things in the city of Oshawa, and then ran again because I've always in my heart believed that you run for a reason.
Correct.
And my bucket of reasons was still there, but by the time I finished my second term of as mayor, my bucket was empty. All of the things that I wanted to do and promised to do, we were able to complete. We were able to put the city on some very sound in a financially sound place, and it was time for me to move on. And the regional chair, Roger Anderson, had passed away, and as a regional councillor, there was things that I thought I could do. I had a bucket of regional issues that I wanted to deal with, and I'm really proud to say that I'm working my way through that bucket. We got a lot accomplished in the first term, but COVID really slowed us down. And now in the second term of as regional chair, I'm excited about where we've gotten to and what we're able to do. The region's exciting. You can see development everywhere. We're the fastest growing region in Ontario. People are choosing to make Durham their home. We're in Ajax today. Probably the most diverse city in all of Canada is in Ajax. How people are choosing to come to Canada, and when they get here, half of our new residents choose to live in the GTHA, and a lot of them move out into Durham. We're now celebrating festivals related to all the different culturals that make all the culture that makes up our region. So yesterday was a busy day. We celebrated with our community in Clarington, and we did our community in Pickering, did some work in our northern municipalities. And it's all of those puzzle pieces
Correct.
that come together to make Durham one of the most amazing places in Canada to live. We have 2 universities in Durham region, both Trent and Ontario Tech. The only nuclear engineering program in Canada is based in Oshawa at Ontario Tech. We've got Durham College that is teaching the tradesmen of the future and bringing all of that to Durham as well. And I often say that the world still needs butchers and bakers and candlestick makers, but their tools are different. Now you're dealing with, fiber and energy and healthcare. The jobs are there. Even for if you look at what's going on, there isn't a site in Durham region right now that isn't got looking for talented people to come and work for them. Whether it's in the small modular nuclear reactor world, or whether it's construction sites, building trades. There's such a shortage of talented young people coming in because we're at the end of the baby boomers. I'm at the end of that. People are retiring,
Yes.
and now those opportunities are opening up the same way they did in the, earlier in the late '60s, early '60s, where there was lots of opportunities. We've transitioned from building things by hand to building things with technology.
Automation.
General Motors is brought pickup trucks back into production here with 3 shifts of trucks, and the great news of them building the 2024 Silverado in Oshawa. Don't forget, it was just a few years ago that plant was technically closed.
That's what I thought too. But
And now, you've got all these companies that have chosen to come out here. One is because we have this talent pool. 2 is our diversity now allows us to find skilled, talented people that can do anything. We can provide whatever language talent you need to work on the world stage. This makes Durham an exciting place to be. And we're a little bit more affordable than Toronto. We'll get the GO train out to Clarington. People will come out here and raise their families because it's not just about living someplace. It's about living someplace where you can kick a soccer ball around with your kids.
You got it.
And Durham offers all that.
Not only soccer ball, but also the cricket grounds too.
Cricket too. As things are changing and you see more and more of the culture from around the world come into our communities, then you're going to see sports like cricket and the love for a game that I didn't see, but I did see cricket matches when I was a kid, when I was in Scotland. So
Okay. Oh my God, that's interesting. So please give us some insight about the nuclear module that you specify a few times.
So the world is going through a climate crisis where they need to find ways to find an alternate to burning fossil fuel to generate electricity. And small modular nuclear reactors. So Durham right now is the energy capital of Canada. And we between Pickering and Darlington and Clarington, generate about a third of the electricity for the province of Ontario.
Interesting.
And nuclear has been a big part of the growth and of Durham region for for a very, very long period of
With the
time.
Darlington and Pickering.
Pickering
plant.
first and then Darlington.
Darlington.
And what the small modular nuclear reactor is it's a small reactor that will allow you to generate electricity you could use it as for an industry or a mine. You could use it for something a little bit bigger. But what it does is it gives in remote locations an alternative to burning oil to generate electricity. And to get to that greener, cleaner future, nuclear is one of those things that does that. So we have this talent here in Durham Region. So in Clarington, it's the only site in Canada, maybe in all of North America, where the environmental assessment has been complete to build a small modular reactor. That reactor they're working there now on site preparations, should be up and running by sometime around 2028. There is a demand around the world for clean, green energy generation. Small modular nuclear reactors could be as small as something that you could put in a container and transfer to a mine site or a small remote village, or it can be bigger than that.
Wow.
And it's just something new. It will help us get to where we need to be, and more importantly, it will help us, wean off of fossil fuels.
Absolutely, and we are on the right track, and certainly all the goodness things like Canada's fortunate with nuclear technology is the pinnacle of our innovation, and the nuclear standards that we have and the nuclear plant designs are top notch in the world, and nuclear inspectors. So I have a few relatives in the nuclear sector, working the Bruce Power. So I have some knowledge and the background about that. And I certainly believe that with modular technology and the portable nuclear units can bring once and for all our North Canada communities back to life, connected with the business, connected with the communication, connected with the transportation. They need to be mobilized.
Well, with the small modular nuclear reactor program in Clarington, we'll be the energy capital of the world. And this doesn't mean that fossil fuels, that I'm against fossil fuels, but what you're seeing now is because of the need to do things better to protect our climate, even our producers are using leading edge technology to deliver a better delivery of gas and oil. And including when you look at waste organics. You go home tonight and you've got part of the trimmings from dinner. So you've got the insides of peppers and the skin of an onion, and you've got a number of other things. Utilizing those materials through our green bin program, and now you're hearing about creating renewable natural gas, all through anaerobic digestion. So all of those technologies that really haven't been around are now here, and people are more caring and concerned about the environment. Our kids in school, the kids in school are being taught differently, and then coming home and teaching the parents about the importance of recycling, the importance of managing green bin. And Durham is doing an excellent job. It doesn't mean that we can't do better. It's all about education, working together, understanding, and I'm excited for the future. I'm excited for young people because all the things happening in Durham also create jobs, and jobs that pay living wages. It's important to be able to afford to live in the community that you're working in. So for young people, there's a big light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
And now that we're coming out of the COVID challenges, the demands for well-trained people, from manufacturing to what you do, to healthcare, and all parts in between, is exciting. And when I finished in 1978 in Durham Region, when you finished high school, there was a job waiting for you.
Wow.
I'm not sure we'll get back to that point, because in those days it was all heavy manufacturing.
Correct.
And really people-oriented manufacturing. But now as you finish and you graduate from school, given the tools that you're learning at Durham College or Trent or Ontario Tech, understanding robotics
Yes.
and how artificial intelligence is changing the world. Like, we use artificial intelligence in our service trucks now to detect potholes on regional roads.
I saw that. It was fabulous technology. Very well done.
And these are the little things. It doesn't eliminate the person that has to go out and repair that. What it does is it does all the work to get ready to prepare it. It maps it,
Yes.
sends a message back, a work order is generated, the truck gets the work order, the crew goes out and they patch the pothole. These are the things that we're doing to make things better. Automated controls in buildings and houses are changing how we live, but you still need that talented person to make sure that all those automated controls and the equipment that it drives works. In the old days, you would have an individual that would just come in and fix your furnace because it was easy to fix. Well, now it's not just about the furnace; it's about all the other things that are connected to it.
Correct, correct. And I totally believe on that. And great, exciting times are coming with the artificial intelligence. And people are like, feeling scared, like, they're going to lose a job. But again, coming back to the same mindset, don't depend on one skill set, have multiple skill set in your head, and all the time be in the learning phase.
Well, you should always, nothing should really stop you from being able to continue to learn. I always say it's not about the top of the mountain; it's about the journey to the top of the mountain, and and also making yourself uncomfortable. So if you get focused in one field, then that's your career. That's great, but don't be afraid to go to take a night school class or learn a something else, whether it be going to Babel and learning a language, but you have to keep exercising your mind so you can create knowledge, and learning should be an everyday thing. I try to do a TED Talk once a week. I read everything that comes across my desk. There's always an opportunity to learn from somebody or an article about some great process or something's done. For us, nobody is going to figure this out by yourself, and the only way we do it is by working together, listening to the people that specialize in fields, and work with them to learn more, to have a better understanding. And it's not just about technology, or it's about everything. It's about our communities. It's about how the world is changing, what's happening around the world. But Canada is in a really good spot. It's a place of choice for people to come to.
Yes.
And I still believe in my heart that that great Canadian dream still exists, and that if you work hard and you do the things that you need to do, that my kids are going to have the same life as that I had. You'll see your dad a little bit more because nobody works shift work like that anymore, but for my kids, I hope that they have the same opportunities that I have. And, they're well on their way. I have two daughters that are amazing, and I have a grandson and a granddaughter and two son-in-laws that I'm incredibly proud of, and another grandchild on the way. And my goal is to leave our community in better shape than I found it. And that's why I'm so passionate about what I do.
That's a great mindset, and that's a great wordings you're using. So, and you certainly are going to leave a great legacy behind when people are going to look at your life, look at this podcast. They're going to learn so many things. I'm learning it, like, every minute you're talking about, like, I'm amazed, like, what the life journey is. And the examples you're using, it's not at the top of the mountain, but it's a journey to get there. And one thing that you mentioned, and I really want to resonate that a little bit on it, especially to the youth these days, they are giving up too soon, and they are comfortable. I was talking to one of the my age group entrepreneur, and he has teenage kids, and he said, you know what, they are not working hard, they are comfortable. I said, this is exactly it. So our job is to give them the task bigger than their age and mindset, so they feel challenged, and make them work hard for it. So, and that task ends, you have to have 3 tasks line up. So that is done, do it more, do it more. And that way they're going to keep learning hard. But you need a mentor. You need someone. Only the parents are not enough. We need the mentorship program, mentorship platform. And this is why I created, like, the ABC, like, to create the mentorship program for the youth and even the businesses and the employees who just couldn't find the right job and the challenge. So rather, like, wasting 2 3 months in job searching, why not join with the company and do some volunteer work and gain some new skills, and that may land you on a job. And I did that for a new immigrant in Canada. For 3 months, he couldn't find a job. I said, why don't you, like, try to, like, for the youth event I did in January. So I said, like, I'm doing a one volunteer event. Why don't you, like, come to my office, put some volunteer hours, and with that, it will give you some Canadian experience. And after that, when he put my our company name on his resume, he landed a job in 2 months. So these are the things we need to be creative about, and we shouldn't be shy talking about it and experiencing it.
Well, you're right. For us, one of the projects that we have at the region that I'm incredibly proud of is our youth and policing program,
Good.
where we take young people in the community, and there's a complete program that goes with that. It gives them an opportunity to understand what they're outside of their box, their world, and get to see things. And I agree with you that kids nowadays they're so focused on that small space.
Yes.
But the universe is a big space. And I'll be fair too. In high school, I was not what would be considered a great student. I found that I could get bored very easy, and not that I was a bad student.
Yes.
I just I was challenged with school, and my teachers they recognized that something in me and never gave up on me. I often talk about my teachers that when I speak in public, how I may have not been a good student in high school. I became a very good student after I left high school. Mm-hmm. But they still continued to push me. I'm very thankful for the teachers that did that. I had a teacher when I first became mayor, sent me a really wonderful note one day, and it said, "I always knew you would do something big." And I didn't. Even today, I'm in this position today, I really don't know how I got here. I know that I know the process of elections, and that's not what I mean, but it was about my journey, how my path took me from where I was to where I am today. And I don't know where I'm going to be tomorrow, but I know I'm not at the top of the mountain yet. And if you think you've reached it, then you're really defeating yourself. It's something you need to strive for each and every day. And it's that next step. And don't get comfortable when you're in a job and you're there and you think things are good. Don't let that be your last stop on your journey. Find that opportunity that moves you along to the next step. I'm a huge believer in a program that we started years ago at the city, and it was about recognizing rising stars within organizations. Finding that person within your organization that's got a spark, when you see these people, you can see it in them, right?
You're right.
And then our problem is we need to turn that spark into a fire. And we as managers of people need to be able to recognize, invest in those individuals, make sure that they have the tools that they need to get them to where they need to be. I've worked with a number of people within the organization I'm now at the region where I talk to them and say, don't let this be your last stop. Don't let being a municipal lawyer be your last stop. Don't as a manager, strive to do something else. You can always graduate from school and I mentioned lawyer, be that lawyer, but don't let real estate law be the only law you dabble in.
Exactly.
There are countless things
Yes.
that you can do. And don't get comfortable, because once you get comfortable, you kind of coast. You do your work, and that's all great. But you need to be sometimes to be uncomfortable to get to that next.
as the like.
opportunity.
Absolutely, I agree with you. And just the Steve Jobs, the Apple founder, said, "Be foolish, be hungry."
Oh, it. I understand that well. Prior to, we talked earlier, the first job I ever had in high school was the same year I worked for that gentleman. So at 14, I started working for the company Avis when in September of 1974, I think. But in the summer, 1974, I think, there was a building being built in the neighborhood I was in. So I walked onto the construction site. I was a big kid then, and met the bricklayer, and the bricklayer hired me on the spot because I showed up when he was starting, and he needed somebody to mix mortar and carry blocks and bricks. And at 14, I wasn't smart enough to understand what I got myself into. But after spending a summer carrying blocks and mixing mortar and stuff, it was really a good eye-opening experience.
Yes.
I worked with some amazing stonemasons, some bricklayers. They were very talented people, but I knew that was a job that I probably didn't want to do for the rest of my life. But it was a good, humbling experience, and I was 14 years old working in a construction site as a kid.
This is the beauty about your career, like spontaneity. Lathe machines to masonry work to the construction site. Like if you connect the dot, it doesn't make no sense.
No.
And that's what the life learning phase is about. When you're young in teens and 20s, do things for the sake of learning, not earning. Earning will come later, but the multi job experience, side experiences, trade experience is going to give you the knowledge and the courage which is going to help you in a top decision making process. And that is why, like, I'm talking to you and I'm saying you are an excellent politician, but good family man, good businessman, good, like, father, good husband, and all of that is needed. We don't need to get comfortable in any of those sector. So totally agree, like, try to do more and never settle down on anything one.
No, and then for me too, in my personal life, I'm proud to say I've been involved in my community long before politics. I was in my younger days, I was part of the Kinsman Association, and it's still around, not as big as it was, but I've been a Rotarian now since 1988,
Wow.
and surrounding yourself with like-minded people
That's true.
whose only goal is to serve their community.
Yes.
And then as you get to know them, they share their experiences with you. But, find something that you're passionate about. Get involved in your community. Rotary is a great way, but there's many other great service organizations. Get involved within your own community.
Yes.
And then the other part about it too is you need to sit with your grandparents, and you need to understand where they came from and what they did and where your history is at. And when I was a child, like I said, my family came from Ireland, but my grandmother would we'd sit on her knee, and my dad's mom was passionate about geography, right? Just passionate, and she would tell you all about our family's history and where we came from, and equally is my mom's mom was equally involved with the family too. Both my grandmothers were widowed early. My grandmother on my dad's side was remarried, but my mom's mom never got remarried, and she spent her time working in a nursing home, and then when she was retired, she spent her time looking after her grandkids. And
Wow.
you need to remember that, but you need to remember that our journey here didn't start here, and that you need to remember that your history, your culture, your traditions, your language are all vital, and you need to keep and maintain that and enjoy all that has to offer.
So please tell me about the businesses you had, because you said, like, you had multiple businesses. Please explain a little bit of history about it.
So it goes back to that going up to the top of the mountain. So when I was finished high school, my first job, or the job I worked at while I was in high school, is I worked for an office equipment furniture fixtures company, and the company was called Avis Office Equipment. It's not in existence anymore. It closed a few years ago, but it was a company that did, on one side we did business equipment repair, and on the other side we did furniture, fixtures, and electronics, electromechanic stuff, and then ultimately electronics in the business world. And I was there for a long time, full and part-time, on and off between educational experiences. I was there for 28 years and eventually owned a third of that company. And then after I left that company, I went, and my mentor, Julio, I worked with him for a couple of years on helping him get his business established, which was similar to what I did at Avis's. And then I opened two more companies. One was a company called Office Products and Fixtures. It was similar to what I did at Avis. And then I had another company called JohnHenryOPS.com, which was very unique because I was competing with Staples on the internet. And
Wow.
we were able to do next day delivery through a warehouse in Toronto, and some partnerships that we had developed. And I was really proud of that. But my wife was, I said earlier, was Shoppers Drug Mart, and Kathy was incredibly talented and did some very interesting things in the pharmacy world. She built literally a lab that got her into home-based delivery of healthcare and IV related drugs, and she was very successful. And she built a medical center, and between the two of us, we've done a lot of things. I worked for a diving company for a while, part-time, and I worked as a bartender and a steward for a while, all while I worked for other companies. And I still managed to go to school at night because being the oldest of four kids, I didn't really have the opportunity to go to college when I graduated from high school. So my journey to go to college was done at nights and weekends. So, I'd work all week, and I'd go to school on a Saturday, and then I'd work that Saturday night, and literally worked 7 days a week for a number of years, but worked for different people. So I'd work Monday to Friday for the company I was with, and Wednesday nights I'd teach diving, because by the time I worked myself up, I was teaching diving, so I'm a certified diving instructor.
Wow.
So I teach diving on Wednesday evenings and Saturdays and Sundays, and then Saturday night I'd work as a bartender someplace and or a steward, and that got me to that work ethic came from my dad about hard work and the people you meet. And I worked for some amazing people over the years. I've had the privilege of working for the Taylor family at Winfield Farms, and outside, I've worked for the president. At one time, I worked for the president of General Motors of Canada, and some really interesting people in between. It's here I am as a young man, working as a bartender for a large catering company that was in Oshawa, that was the catering company that served everywhere. And from me doing work in their business, they said to me one day, "Well, would you mind working for us on weekends?" And the next thing you know, I'm not just working for them, I'm managing some of their projects on weekends as a contractor while I'm working for another company. So it was all very interesting, but it was, my luck is though it comes from the people that saw something in me and then said, given a chance.
Yeah.
My first partner in business is kind of his rule with me was, okay, I appreciate all that you do and everything you bring to the table, and I don't mind, moving you on to new projects. Just try not to lose any money. And, it's pretty empowering when you have a boss that says, okay, good ideas. You can try these things. If they don't work out, well, they didn't work out. We'll find another way to do it. But I was never stuck in one job, right? I was never said, okay, you're just going to go manage those accounts. I actually, I'm pretty sure, worked in every account that we had. I was not just, you're just not the Toronto guy. You're just not the guy going east. In the mornings they'd pull out the work orders and they'd say, okay, pick your route. Well, some technicians would say, okay, I'll pick these calls. Well, I'd pick calls from Mississauga to Cobourg, and I'd just do a route and I'd do what I needed to do. And during that journey, I'd meet all kinds of great people like you.
Interesting, interesting. You are inspiring me every minute of this podcast, I tell you, and it's just resonated with me so much because I'm exactly like you as well. I never hesitate to learn anything, even from kids. And someone approached to me and they say, "Listen, they need help, but they don't have money." I say, "We'll talk about the money later. Let me know how can I help you," and I jump right into it. But it gives me really honor to establish the companies and their operations and manage them really well. So two of the brands right in the Durham region. One is a special kind of play daycare. Was struggling with the website and branding, so we did that. But I managed the project so well. They say they couldn't be able to manage things like that. Can you become our advisor? I say yes. So now they made me advisor, and I'm advising that brand. And the Here Am app. Remember, we gave the presentation with the Paul Tallman. So he said the same thing too. You're so excellent managing things, and not only people, but the data and technology, and combining it all. So just run this company. So you offer me the CEO, and managing that company as well.
Yeah. Well, for business people, that was always the challenge, is that you've got, as a young entrepreneur, you've got this business idea and you're very good at what you do. And that's only a small part of it. It's the back end of the business that will always get you in trouble. So while you've got this great ambition and the drive to do what you're doing, you need to remember that, taxes have to be paid, payroll has to be done. You have to do all that stuff. So, I've always said, for people that are trying to navigate all that, do what you do really well, and then find somebody that you can work with to do the other stuff. And your success won't be because you did it all, because you cannot do it all. I can remember when I opened my last company, because it was an online type business, it was easy to open, set up, and make it work. But then all of a sudden, I'm doing what I do during the day, which was either repairing or selling. And then at night, I'd come home and I'd sit there and I'd have to do all the other stuff. When I left the company I was with and opened my own business, I never had to do the back end of a business. I always had an executive assistant that did my paperwork, that did all that stuff and made me look really, really good. And then all of a sudden I'm out on my own, doing it all and realizing, great idea, what have I done to myself? And then realized it's just as easy to find someone that can manage that stuff and do the invoicing, do the paperwork, and literally start, because after a while, you're doing what you're doing, but your phone's ringing all the time. And in today's world, people want to talk to you, but they don't have time to wait.
You're right.
So, if somebody sends you an email, you need to respond within a day. If somebody phones you, you need to return the call before the end of the day. And I wasn't able to do that. So in order to make that company successful, it was, I brought in just an incredible person that did all of that for me. And then what we did is to compete with large companies, if you're going to compete with them on their physical footprints, you cannot. But you can compete with them in another world, in that, and it doesn't really matter where your employees are as long as the work's getting done. So everybody has an iPad, all the work gets done,
Here you go.
it gets delivered, the customer's happy, but they don't know the behind the scenes stuff. And that's where it's really hard, is to make sure that you get that back end stuff to work and do what you do really well, and get the people that do the other things really well to work with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about creating partnerships, and the people that you surround yourself with will make you successful. But then never forget where you come from. Never, I never forget that I'm the son of parents who were auto workers. I'm proud of the fact that my entire family I'm the only member of my family that never really worked for General Motors, except I worked for General Motors as a contractor. But both my brothers worked in the plants up until the plant closed, and then even after it reopened, one of them went back and worked there. My sister worked there while she was in university. Both my brothers worked there during the summer. I'm the son of an auto worker, and I'm proud of it.
Very good, very good. And executive assistants are so important. And I must give the credit to Patricia too. She's wonderful.
I've been so incredibly lucky my entire life. I often say my only great skill set is picking talented people, right? But
You said it.
but I had in my previous life I've had a number of administrative assistants, and now I've got Patricia was my assistant when I was the mayor of Oshawa. I now have Nancy and Mark that work in my office, and the work that they do each and every day to keep me on topic and on point is unbelievable. I get hundreds of emails every day, and it's nice that when you've got you can sit down and we meet every morning for half an hour, and I just hand them the things that I need them to follow up on for me. They manage the calls coming in and make sure that I have time to return them every day, because you can never do this job by yourself. And it's really, when I'm successful, it's the whole organization is holding me up, making me look good. Because without them, I wouldn't be where I am.
Got it. Very good. So, about picking up the right people, did you pick your wife or she picked you?
Oh, I always think it's that she chose to pick me. I was really quite lucky. Kathy and I actually grew up in the same neighborhood and went to the same high school. One of us is a little bit older than the other one, just a little bit. And in high school, age is a big thing. A couple of years, really. There's the older folks and grade 12 and 13, and then there was the rest of us. But I was really lucky. I met Kathy in 1988. I knew her, but but I didn't ask her. I asked her to go to a wedding with me. Actually, that was our first date. And she couldn't make the wedding, but she made the reception. And then I went with her to a Jack and Jill shower. And it was just after I came back from down south, where I'd gone to. I'm trained as an industrial firefighter, so I had gone to school in the southern United States, and I was weighing my odds of whether I would stay in the world I was in, the world that I just came from, and I didn't really know where my path was. And then I met Kathy, and I think my path was pre-picked for me. She's been supportive and amazing. We have two unbelievable daughters, and I'm blessed that she. I have an incredible. I'm a workaholic, so I. She did a lot with the kids that I would have, in hindsight, wish I could have done more for. But now I've got grandchildren, so I will make it up to my grandkids, and hopefully that helps my daughters. But Kathy's been, she's confident. I can talk to her about anything, and she was a business person too, and she started her career in a world that was really truly man dominated back when she finished university and started as a pharmacist. And now that's completely changed.
Yes.
And she did some big, bold things while she was a pharmacist. I was incredibly proud of the work that she had done. And she had a great 37-year career. And now she's enjoying golf and retirement.
That's good. Very happy to know.
Yeah.
So please tell us about how the politicians can do more in their terms, and they can think beyond the term to serve people.
So for us that come from the business sector, or even in your personal life, you always have a plan and a journey, but the journey doesn't take It's not done about today or 1 year from today. It's done out 5, 10, 15 years down the road. And one of the challenges we have with our form of governance is that we go in a 4-year cycle. So that, council plans for the year and the 4 year, but they don't plan for the 5, the 10, the 15 years down the road. And as we were saying earlier, we just went through a really difficult budget session, but for the first time ever, we now have long-term plans that go out 10 years. So we know where we want to be in 10 years from now with transit. We know what we need to do to make our paramedic services, how to get to where we need to be as our population grows. So we're now putting plans out that are outside of the term of a council. And in order to meet the needs of our residents, we cannot think in 1 or 4 year increments anymore. We have to think in 1, 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road, as we know that growth is going to be consistent. It's going to change the makeup of the region. We know that today, but only planning in a 4-year cycle doesn't work. We need to know where, the province says our population is going to double in Durham region by 2051. That is the goal line. Mm-hmm. And we need to be ready. You cannot show up at that date and say, oh my goodness, I need all these people to do what we need to do. We need to forecast our needs as an organization based on our population growth. We need to do the things that you would hear with your business to get us to where we need to be. There was a great expression with Wayne Gretzky in hockey. Wayne was successful in hockey because he always skated to where the puck is. Mm-hmm. So here we know what we need to do. Mm-hmm. So I'm happy, very with the members of council and how they have supported this concept about getting out to 10 years and using forecasting tools the same way you would use in your business to try to get ahead of what's around us. I'm excited for the future. I think we will do better as elected leaders, knowing that our plans are now extended, some of them, not all of them, but we will get all of them, hopefully over the next little while, reaching out to those future dates of 5 and 10 years. And just because you're putting a plan together, the plan is a living document. Mm-hmm. If you've got a plan, you can always change it. You can always add things, remove things.
Correct.
If all of a sudden the government, and this is wishful thinking, if the federal government came in with lots of money for affordable housing, then all the work that we're doing on that affordable housing file in our document, we can pull that out and we can fill that in with something else.
Correct.
But you have to have a plan.
Correct. And I must say that your business background is bringing so tremendous value. The management of the business background and all that is coming value to as a CEO of and the regional chair of the Durham region, so you can run the organization beyond the 4 years term. And the eyes are not on the price of getting reelected, but to serve the community beyond the 4 years term.
That's important to remember, is that I always believe that if for elected officials that they need to do their job. And it's not about the job, it's about doing the job. And sometimes you make hard decisions, and you're not going to be able to make everybody happy, and don't strive to do that, because when you start to do things that compromise your integrity, it creates a challenge. And you need to be able to face that person you see in the mirror every morning when you brush your teeth, and you need to be able to smile. And it's important to remember that. And if you can do that every day, then you're in a good place. The people around you are in a good place, and you can continue to do great things. But if you're not smiling when you see yourself in the morning in the mirror and there's a problem, then there's a problem.
You got it. So what is the major difference you find running the business and running the governance as the chair?
Well, the great part about the business is that you've got these talented leaders within your organizations. Elaine Baxter-Tahir is our CAO, comes with a wealth of knowledge. All of our commissioners and directors have this great knowledge base. But it's the information that comes in that you have to deal with. So you've got your plan to how the region's going to run, and then it's all the other things that come in. As companies from around the world choose to look at Durham region as a place to establish their businesses, we've got that avenue to go down. As we have growth, we're now dealing with things like increased needs for water and sewer, more roads, more buses. So there's the business part, the day-to-day operations of the region, which the CAO manages well. We meet twice a week to talk about, we'll meet tomorrow to talk about the challenges that we've had since the last time we met over the weekend, and then what's going to happen this week. And we meet at the end of the week to talk about where we were successful, where we weren't successful, where we need to put more effort into things. But I don't interfere in the operations of the day-to-day business. When you have incredibly talented people working for you,
Correct.
and you micromanage them, you defeat your success. You need to be able to trust the people that you hire to do their job. There'll be wins, there'll be losses. That happens, that's inevitable. You know that change is constant. If you can grasp change, especially business does this very well, government does not deal with change very well, but at the region we're managing change in a very different way. And our success is being seen. I'm really proud of the team that we've got working at the region. We've got some real amazing rising stars that will go on to do big things, and hopefully they stay at the region, but they've developed skill sets that will make them successful as leaders, both in the private and the public sector. I'm very lucky that they chose to work at the region. But there's a lot more to it than just running a business. You need to be the cheerleader and champion of the company when there's challenges. You need to be the cheerleader of the organization when there's good things, because once you think your job is done, it's not. And that's when you don't become
Comfortable.
Businesses that fail often fail because and through history you can look at some amazing companies that did very, very well, and then one day the president of the company walks into the warehouse and they haven't sold any goods in 6 months and it's stacked to the ceiling, and they're wondering why things aren't happening, but the world changed.
Look at the example of the Research in Motion, BlackBerry.
Yeah, the world changed. There's a great example. There's all kinds of companies out there that used to make casted pipe. Well, casted pipe's not, some of it's still used, but not like it was. So they switched to other mediums. So if you're able to navigate and utilize change to your advantage, then you can do some really exciting things. But if you don't think change is constant, you're not going to be successful.
You're the first person and the politician that I met who is breaking the barrier in the government sector, doing things beyond the terms thinking, and you're basically changing the mindset how the government could do a better job. So you said one line that government cannot make as fast changes as the private sector can, but under the leadership of yours, if things are right, it doesn't have to have so many motions passes, approval process to go through. If you say it right, it makes sense. It doesn't break any law or anything. Just do it.
So I can say that within our organization that change happens effectively and quickly. It doesn't take, and COVID allowed, the challenges of COVID, as bad as it was, really empowered businesses to do things differently.
Correct.
So we went from an organization where people had to come into work every day to an organization that in 3 weeks had 1,400 people working remotely. For us, it really, really sent the messages that we needed to change the way we do business. So not only are we prepared in the event of another challenge like COVID, where people can still do what they need to do, but they can do it from an alternate location. And that is really important to remember, because COVID's not the first challenge we've had. There was SARS before that, and there will always be those challenges. Yes. But how do you continue to build your organization up so that you can continue to do what you need to do during difficult times? So, we just launched a program Durham 311. So if you call into the region now, you would get a live person on the phone that would help you navigate your challenges. By doing that, we eliminated 60 phone lines.
Interesting.
So for when you had a problem, you would call and they would transfer you to the person that answered that phone. Well, now we have one central location for answering the phone. And because technology has changed so much that you can do it in voice. So you can use Siri or Alexa and you can
Yes.
say, Siri, can you contact the region of Durham and find out what day my garbage is being picked up? And you will get an answer back. So we've been using that technology to automate our organization. And the reason I'm using 311 is because it's a whole different world. It's not in my skill set. I really don't understand the behind the scenes technology. I understand the theory and the principle of what we were trying to do. But by allowing a talented team to put all the pieces together and keep us informed, because I was informed, I still am informed on everything that's going on, along with members of council and our senior leadership team. But this is their success. But I get to tell you about 311 today. It'll make a huge difference in the operations of the region and how we do business. And it's just another story like, using artificial intelligence for potholes. It took someone within our organization to find that, to research it, to pitch it, to where it eventually got to a senior leadership team. And it was a very short period of time where we said, yeah, we can do that.
Good, good, good. And those are the good changes. And I hope, you can be able to resonate those changes once they trial and test it and get matured to all the other municipalities to listen, try this on, and this is a protocol.
So for us, what we've done is we've offered our 311 service to the 8 municipalities in the region to support them on some of their challenges. It is an amazing model. We've had some great success within our organization. It's very different than the 311 system in Toronto. You can call and it's similar, but using Siri or Alexa to answer your calls because your time's busy. At the end of the day, you don't have the time to go and make 20 phone calls to get to the right person to hear somebody at the region where you only wanted to get a new blue bin.
You're right.
And it has to be easier because you're busy. The families don't have time. You're
right.
trying to get homework done. You're trying to get to whatever sports or dance the kids do. You've still got housework to do at the end of the evenings. And anything that we can do to make it better for our residents is important. At the same time, using anything that we can do to make it better for our employees as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Employees' satisfaction is extremely important, as well as their mental health too. So they're working remotely doesn't mean that they're fully fulfilled and satisfied. So this is where the ABCs is stepping in, where the HR in the modern work frame couldn't be able to ask them, and how you doing? Is there anything we can be able to do? And look at the organization like RCMP and the other organization in the government sectors where they have departments, but they couldn't be able to communicate because by law you couldn't be able to ask, do you have any issues? But if you open the dialogue with the workshop or the other things, people can be able to come forward and say, I need help.
Well, in the other part to being a successful manager in any organization, CAO, CEO, director, or a commissioner, general managers, it doesn't matter, is to be able to talk to your people. I know when I walk into work Monday morning, when I'm walking in, I can tell by the smiles whether the staff have had a good weekend or a bad weekend. And it doesn't hurt to say, yeah, how's it going? Or to take the time to have that personal conversation. And that's where I'm really proud is to remember my roots, right? I try to be conscious of the people I'm around. I know as you get older, I'm not going to say old, as I'm maturing in life, you can sense when people have had a bad day or
Correct.
And it's always important to take the time to show that you actually care. So if you've got an employee that that's kids are involved in sports, and ask how was the weekend, or if you know, I touch base with like my immediate team. Oh, probably once a week. I've had an interaction, a personal interaction for a couple minutes just to say, how's it going? What's the plans for the weekend? How are the grandkids? How are the kids? Now, as a grandfather, with the people that I know at the region that have kids, it's always what did you do with the grandkids this weekend, right?
Yes.
But it's important to remember that no matter where you get to in your career, that it's important to remember that we all deal with people, and
Yes.
that everybody puts their shoes on the same way every day.
Correct. So always look after the people, and people look after you.
Absolutely.
So recently, the Project Arrow got completed and presented in Las Vegas Auto Show. So congratulations! So it was a contribution by the Ontario Tech University in Durham region. So please tell us a little bit about it.
So Project Arrow, I would say, was probably the best kept secret in the auto industry. It was an amazing story of Ontario Tech, the University of North Oshawa, and I think it's 56 or 58 parts suppliers came together to build this amazing vehicle called Project Arrow. And so you can imagine this is being done by a public-private partnership.
Correct.
That was kept very quiet. Nobody knew about it. And it was unveiled at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas earlier this year. And since that time, it's been getting all kinds of reviews at the auto show. It shows that there is a talent pool of young people in this country that still have this great ability to do things. And that's what makes our country so amazing, is the talent that the youth have, and the leadership from the parts manufacturers that worked with them. And in the end, out came Project Arrow. It's been recognized around the world. It's brought Ontario Tech into the light. They were an amazing school in the nuclear world, and nuclear engineering, and a number of other things. It really is shedding a new light on the auto industry. So I don't know where Project Arrow is going to end up or what's going to happen, but it did put the university and Durham region on the front page of a lot of newspapers.
Correct.
And I congratulate the students involved. I'm sure that when they graduate, there are car companies out there that are lining up to hire them. But it's an amazing story, and I congratulate all of the partners, the students and the auto supply companies that did that, and for Ontario Tech having the vision to do something like this. It's incredibly exciting.
Absolutely, incredibly exciting. Usually, those talent and the partnership collaboration really was looking for the big universities like University of Toronto or something like that. But it is really nice, regional university can pull this off too, and it shows how incredible the faculty and the staff and collaborators work together. So very good example.
Well, it's just such a great story, and when you look at Durham region, Durham has always been is next door to Toronto, so it's always about Toronto.
Correct.
And sometimes, and I have nothing against Toronto, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but there's so many amazing things that happen in Durham region that really doesn't get the front page of the newspaper, and this did. But it's not just that; it's the work that's being done in all three schools. So, this morning I was with the president prior to coming here, president of principal president of Trent University at an event in Oshawa where they're supporting Autism Home Base. There was a big function there today, and the work that Trent has done in Oshawa has been amazing. Durham College and I'm alumni of Durham College. I'm proud of that, and what they're doing now from farm to table, in the agricultural world, in the culinary world, training trades, all of that is amazing. And then you have Ontario Tech, one of the newest universities in North America, where you're leading in so many different areas. And for young people today, the opportunities to go to school close to home is amazing. And for families too, because we all want our kids to have great educations.
Correct.
But you might be able to pay for tuition, but living at home and not having to pay room and board really gives a great opportunity to young people to have a less expensive educational experience. And there's so many good programs between the schools here. It's amazing. And there's good news stories come out all the time, but Project Arrow was a big story and still is,
Yes.
and still in the news today.
Are you planning to bring Project Arrow manufacturing in the Durham region?
Oh, every day we are looking to ways to attract businesses. Our economic development team, led through Brian Bridgman as the commissioner and Simon Gill as the director. We have been doing some amazing things and being able to bring companies to the region, and you can see that now. If you drive on Highway 7 going west into Toronto, you can see the Pickering Innovation Corridor and the work that's going on there. We just were at an amazing announcement last week in Scugog in Port Perry of a business that's consolidating and bringing all their technical people into Port Perry, which will bring 60 jobs into their community that are all high tech. But even our agricultural industry, when you talk about high tech and robotics, you tend to think about auto or aerospace. But in our agricultural industries in Durham region, they are very automated. If you want to see when they have gates open, take an opportunity as a resident to find a farm that is a milking farm that uses robotics to milk cattle, or and it's an amazing thing to see. Or how tractors nowadays are using satellite technology to plow their fields, or how a sprayer can travel through a field and spray an individual plant.
Interesting.
The technology around agriculture is amazing, and in Durham region, agriculture is a $1 billion a year business.
Wow.
And we grow everything from the vegetables you eat in the summertime to wheat, to apples and grapes. We have a dairy industry, we have a beef industry, chickens and eggs. And it is amazing. And a lot of the farms in Durham region are farms that have been here since before Confederation.
Wow.
That are still family farms.
Wow. We must need to connect our youth to that, because they don't even look and see the future farm. Who goes to the farm? Who does the farm? Or the farm is so boring. We need to tell them without the farm you don't even have a food on your table. And not everything comes from outside Canada. A lot of comes from within Canada. So we need to create some interest, some programs, some pilot projects, and I would love to bring Ajax-based school over there and talk about what else can be done with the technology implementation wise.
Well, there's an amazing story of a partnership between the Barrett Foundation, the Durham College, and J. Clark High School. So this spring, there'll be the region owned a piece of property next to the school that'll be turned into one of the first urban farms in a grown-up neighborhood.
Interesting.
In a resident. So the students in this school will have the opportunity to see what's actually going on. But for a young person looking for a job, if you're a talented tech person, nobody thinks about the agricultural world.
Correct.
Yet,
generally.
But the software on a tractor is equally as important as the software in your car and what it's able to do. But finding young people that choose to pick, you'll go to school to become someone that repairs a Tesla, right? But how many people do you hear going to school to repair a tractor? But the talent of that technician is exactly the same. The firmware that's in these vehicles, it needs to be updated.
Correct.
The automation related to agriculture, there'll be there is driverless vehicles in the agricultural world now working on fields that are just completely on their own.
Wow.
And that opportunity for a young person that's got that's that gamer that likes doing what they're doing.
Yes.
Look to that world for an opportunity because they
Yes.
are crying for technicians
Yes.
to come out, and it's a world where talent is amazing. I can for a tractor that plows a field, within a couple centimeters of the previous plow line, all of that's done through triangulation of technology and how they do this, and it should never be underestimated, the power of a farm, because farms are not like they were when you and I were kids. They're highly automated. There is a lot of technology that goes into that farm. You would have large farms where traditionally you'd have, maybe 10, 15 people that would be working there, that are now run more effectively and efficiently by 3.
Wow.
And then, they're running the grain dryers running off an iPhone, the egg sorters running off an iPhone. It's really quite amazing to watch how all of this technology comes together to produce food. But we don't talk about high-tech automation like you and I would. We'd talk more about cars or airplanes or something like that. But that world is incredibly important, and there are a lot of jobs available in that world.
We need to do something to put the spotlight on that. I'm actually surprised that our farming sector got so advanced too. So we need to be again, get our youth to see that and expose them to that, and having some tours and something like that, and that would be great to open up the interest in the youth and young individuals.
We recognized the importance of the agriculture industry a few years ago and put together a series of videos that are now being played in the high schools to talk specifically about agriculture.
Good.
It's not something that you or I would think of that we'd want to do, but I have a number of family members that cousins that still farm, and I give them all the praise I can. It's a tough job to be a farmer, but it's not like it was when my grandfather farmed. You can get back a bit of a life now, and young people are returning back to the family farms.
Okay.
But Durham, Durham is, I'll give you an idea, when you go to the grocery store, if you get a box of Kraft Dinner, the wheat for that's grown in Durham region. People don't know that. If you go out today and you went to any of the restaurants in the GTA and you had French fries, the potatoes are grown in Uxbridge. But nobody knows those stories because they're not told. And we're not, as much as we try, we still struggle at getting out the message of Durham region and all the good things that go on here. It'd be nice, like today, we've had a chance to talk about some great things, but the news that you read sometimes, it only talks about bad things.
You're right.
I've never read a story about an automatic milking machine, a robotic milker in a newspaper, but today I've told you something that
Yes.
you didn't know.
I would love to film that. So if you can arrange my podcast on location or some interview on location, that would be good. What you need to do is to connect the business consultants like myself or the influencers, because I have a great audiences and I have more than 9,000 subscribers on YouTube. So if I put the content out there and with the right optimization, chances are we're going to start seeing things which are unseen.
And that's part of our problem too, because we put our messaging out, but not a lot of people listen to messaging coming from us, but taking advantage of people like yourself, where we can, you can send me a list of things that you'd like to see. Chances are we already have that done, that we can send it to you and you can share it, to enlighten the people of our communities what's going on here. Durham's an amazing place, despite all the challenges now with talking about housing, and 80% of Durham region will never be developed. It is lands that will never have a home built on it.
Why is that?
It's either in the greenbelt or it's a farm, and those lands will not be developed. The white belt lands that we're talking about now will be, they're the fringe lands, but farming is an amazing part of our region, and we need to remember that.
And we need to preserve that too.
We need to, and if you do get a chance, there are a number of farms in Durham region where you can actually go to the farm and buy eggs or buy milk or
Yeah.
buy. So some days for your next grocery excursion doesn't necessarily have to go to a grocery store.
I would love to go buy the milk directly from the farmer, and I hope it is not pasteurized, so I can be able to take the raw milk. Are they allowed to sell it?
I'm not exactly sure what the content
Yes.
of what they sell. I just know that you're able to buy milk and eggs at some of our farms.
Okay, I will ask some referrals so I can be able to go, because if there's a pool of contact available, so we can go.
There is so much information available that we put out but doesn't get picked up.
Yes, and I tell you the reason why it doesn't get picked up. As the resident and as a business owner, what kind of odds that this will ever come into the discussion? And I say, well, I would love to take my kids over there and see how the automation is using for milking the cow, or how the chicken gets feed and all that, and how the pigs are farm is maintaining and all that, and how robotics on the farm is working. We need more communication between the government bodies and the private sectors. And why the private sector is because private sector are connected with the individual on the end cycle of the hierarchy, which are school kids. And those are looking to get into the trades and all that. So I have given the presentation successfully at the Ajax High School, as well as Romeo Dallaire, I think, secondary school as well. And I give them the list of the services we do. But besides that, I do the business consultation, so mentorship. So if you wanted to come forward and ask me things, do it. So their teachers are assembling the kids for the next semester in the fall cycle, because we already have good kids in the wintertime. So we need to go out and connect with the local individuals who are active and who wanted to serve people in Canada. I want to see businesses grow from municipal level to regional, regional to provincial, and provincial to national. That's my end goal is. So Digipix is already grown from municipality of Ajax to a region. Now we're serving region and beyond, and it's starting this month. We are going international.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. So we are going to serve the clients in Michigan, and I'm already spoke to a great lady who can be able to handle my sales in that sector. So the plan is this month and mid-May we're going to do the calling approach and the communication approach using the calls and emails and all that, because we have a great portfolio. And in the mid-May to end of May, I would like to visit that for 2 weeks. And then I would like to meet the clients over there and try to give them the presentation, handshaking, meeting in person, gain the confidence, and try to close the deal. So we are ready, but we need to see big things. And the government is doing a good job too. The issue happened is even 311, the mailing is outdated. Physical mail is coming, nobody's reading it. The mediums like videos, Instagram, and all of this, the people who have great audiences, business audiences, serious audiences, not dancing and joking around, those influencers and community leaders regions would like to connect, and they can be able to take the words forward.
Yes. Well, it's been a radical change in how information is sent out to our communities over the last few years. Everybody is so busy.
Correct.
That the last thing you want to do at the end of the day is read something that as much as you should, but a lot of stuff gets bypassed. So we've been doing some targeted stuff, but we definitely have a list of things that I can send you that is already done that you can utilize, and
Please.
and some of the work that we're doing with kids in the community. For example, in April, I don't have the date. I have the date on my phone, but we do a farming event in Brooklyn where kids from around the region and school get to travel through and see all the things that go on within our farm community. And our agricultural community has been doing this for a very long period of time, and it's called Farm Connections.
Okay.
And it really helps the kids in school you have a better understanding. And I like to refer to kids as they're the real change makers in households.
Yes, that's true.
The kids come home from school, they've learned something, they tell mom and dad, and they stimulate that thought process. So I'm really proud of this program and the work that we do. We just, the conservation authorities in Oshawa, they just did their maple gathering of their maple syrup, and they had at Purple Hill, so you could go out there during March break. There was pancakes and maple syrup and walking trails, but for a young person that grows up in along the lakeshore, they don't see that stuff.
They don't, and they would never see that stuff. Even when they're passing by the, what are the odds? You ever go take Salem Road North to pass the Uxbridge or something like that? You're gonna take 412 to go all the way, and then things pass by, and some empty land pass by, and those are farmlands. So we need to bring down to them to the grounds and meet and greet people. Tell the farmers to open up the volunteer opportunity. And bring the kids in just to do some volunteer hours. I would bring 5 kids from my community, and that's the way that we can be able to echo some momentum and the awareness and listen to them. So my next question to you is, you may heard about it, Brampton got the battery storage facility. So what are the plans of Durham region to bring the battery storage facility in Durham region as well?
Well, we have a company here that it's in the battery business now.
Okay.
That is in Clarington. We're out there every day trying to find ways to attract businesses to our region. Okay. Durham is very lucky. We talked about the talent pool, the language skills that are available in our communities. We have been on the front line of. There was a recent announcement. With Volkswagen going to St. Thomas.
Yes, I heard that. Yes.
We did have conversations around that topic here in the region. So we're out there actively promoting the region locally, internationally, with the challenges of around the world now. Canada is perfectly in a perfect place for our rare earth metals, the Ring of Fire in the north.
Yes.
So all of that stuff that's happening now, that is part of the new economy, hopefully we can bring some of that here. We're home to, we have a company in Durham region that is one of the biggest companies in the world in laboratory rock crushing equipment, where, if you've got a mine somewhere in the world and you're crushing rock, chances are that this company has produced that.
Wow.
We have some amazing large steel plants up in Uxbridge that have the ability to roll steel that nobody else can do. So we're starting to bring companies here that are looking at Durham in a different light. The west side of Toronto is out of land. It's hard for you to bring a parcel of land together to put a business there. Durham, we have lots of that space, and people are very open to coming to Durham. Somewhere to do some really great things, and I'm proud you can see that now, whether it be Toyota in Clarington or what's going on with Bad Boy or the new bakery that will be built in Pickering, which is an exciting story. The work that's going around our harbor in Oshawa to move grains out of that port, the small businesses, the businesses of 4 and 5 and 6 people that really are the economy of our country, the small business people, are choosing to move out here. And we've got an amazing environment. And, I can see it. I can feel the energy. I'm often out with our Chamber of Commerce at different functions, and you can feel the excitement. I can tell you that, this is a small thing, but I was with apple growing is a huge thing in Durham region. And our apple farmers are excited about the weather we had. Now, I don't get excited about the winter time because I really don't like the cold anymore, but for them, when I was in a meeting listening to them the other day, our weather was perfect this year, where we didn't have a lot of damage done to the trees, and we have just received enough water to get us to that growing cycle. And
Yes.
our farmers are excited about the apple trees that are this year, and it was just a pleasure to sit there and listen to them.
Wonderful, wonderful. So my next question to you, John Henry, is which industry that you wish to come to the Durham region?
So for me, I'm open to any industry. Durham has become such an amazing place that opportunities for food packaging, for energy generation, advanced manufacturing. We have all the pieces of the puzzle here. So we're out there. If we get a lead, we're out there trying to attract that business to Durham region, and we're having some success. And I'm excited about that. Durham is in a perfect place to service Eastern Canada. We've got as companies that are locating here look at the ability to service not just Canada but the United States. We have this huge circle of area that we're able to do. The port in Oshawa helps us. We have a small airport in Oshawa that helps us as well. Potentially someday a major airport on the Pickering Airport lands, but not in the way to think of Pearson, but to complement Pearson.
Yes.
Especially in the aerospace industry. Canada was a leader in that world, in aerospace, and we dominated that world for a very long period of time, and we could again. It's awkward to try to put the aerospace development industry at Pearson. The airport's busy. There's not a lot of spare room for that type of work, but we're in Pickering. We've got a good opportunity to do that. So we're looking and promoting that too. So, as we continue to grow and as you start to see more and more people move into the region, I think you're going to find more and more entrepreneurs are going to be able to bring those businesses here. And the great part about having universities in your communities that bring international students to your communities, it also brings international students, families to your communities.
Correct.
And they see the opportunities that we have. And often you'll see, Hans Steel in Uxbridge is a company that chose to move here. Toyota is the same. Kubota, Baboy, SKF Foods. The great story around General Motors and their reinvention, small modular reactors, and then all the businesses that support that. The air conditioning companies, the HVAC companies, the builders, the people that do, install and sell appliances. As you grow your community, all this stuff is needed, and you need to be able to have the support. So, bringing businesses here, my door is open. Any business that was ever interested in Durham region can just call the region of Durham and ask to speak to me, and I'd be happy to have a conversation about opportunities.
And you're so good to talk to, easy to talk to, and very professional and soft spoken. So I must say that you're doing a very good job, sir. Thank you.
Well, it's the team, but thank you.
Thank you. I do have a suggestion to make for the aerospace industry. If you can take a moment to listen. The currently airplanes using the kerosene as their jet fuel, and that produces a lot of CO2 emission gases when they up in the sky, 30,000 feet and all. What if we can be able to utilize battery-powered airplane? And this is where the energy generation comes in, battery manufacturing comes in, and assembly of airplane can come in.
So you're absolutely right, and it's the timing. Right? So
Correct.
Now is the time, and as technology starts to shift, and as you watch some of the stuff that is out there, so they have battery powered small flying vehicles now that will soon be able to move people as we get closer to that technology. And if that work could be done here in Durham region, that would be amazing.
Yes.
The world is changing. We have to change.
Absolutely.
And the challenge that we have is that people also want to go back home.
Yes.
So, it's great to come here and have your family, but people have family everywhere.
Correct.
So airports are still going to be needed. It would be, amazing if we could develop the technology to either improve the use of aviation fuel or an alternate to aviation fuel. I think Durham's in the right place to do that.
What is your short-term and long-term vision for Durham region?
That's an interesting question. So I always used to say when I've been asked this before is I would love to build a community where my children chose to move back to it, not because Kathy and I lived here, but because there was amazing opportunities. And I think we're doing that. A lot of people choose to make Durham home. A lot of people that grew up here that have left have come back. But it's creating that environment where you want to be part of the excitement that's going on. Down the road, continue to make the region a place of choice, and to continue to support all the good things that are going on. I truly believe in this community. I could have been successful, hopefully, wherever I ended up, but this was my home, and every day I try to make it a little bit better. And hopefully, I don't think my daughters, they're well on their way in their careers. But if I continue to do this good work, maybe someday my grandchildren will move back to Durham region.
That's great. And they will. I mean, you're doing a good job, and with the right projections and the leadership that you are bringing on board, and the people legacy you're going to leave behind, think beyond the term of the top leader. Think like for the betterment of the country.
Well, thank you, but I'd rather not think of it as my legacy. I would rather think that a group of people got together to do the right thing at the right time. It's never been about me. This is just about being able to. I often use, I straighten the string a lot. Sometimes you can see processes that need to change. You can. I've met with some amazing people and businesses over the years, but my job has really been to sell a product that already exists. The region of Durham's that product. If anything, my legacy would be that when somebody said something would be, he was a good person. I would be just happy with that.
You're beyond a good person. You're like less complimenting you, but you're a good man. Good man,
Well,
sir.
thank you.
Thank you. Any message you want to give it to the Canadian youth?
Oh, another excellent question is don't give up on your dreams. This country is a place where a young man from high school could get a job literally fixing typewriters and now runs a $2 billion business. It didn't come without a lot of hard work and a lot of continuing education. And, in my family, my mom and dad were amazing, but my sister graduated from university before I graduated from college. Help your family get to where they need to be, and there's time for you to get to where you need to be. But dreams are alive, and I'm proof of it. My friend, the Mayor of Oshawa, is proof of it. My friend, the Mayor of Clarington, is proof of it. All the mayors in the region that are doing great things, we're all proof that dreams, hard work, dreams can be alive. And for a young person today, it's about the beginning of your journey. Listen, learn, work hard, and don't give up. And we're in the best times in this country right now, even with people talking about all the challenges with the economy. We are in the best time we've been in since the end of World War II. And it's just things change. So, go to school. I know that high school is challenging, college is challenging, but life's challenging. But there's a goal at the end. There's a wonderful person out there waiting for you to be a partner with the rest of their lives. There's the future of having kids is always something that people dream about, and it can all be true. It can happen. But if you think it's going to be given to you on a plate, then you're wrong. And nothing in this world doesn't come without hard work.
Everything comes with a hard work.
Hard work.
Yes. My next question to you is, what would you like to see change in region or in Canada in general to make a better society?
Oh, well, this is the advantage of being an independent politician. I'm not a member of any political party, and I struggle with the challenges at the federal and the provincial government, because government should always be about the people. It should never be about stuff. And when you watch question period at either level of government, and you watch our leaders having conversations back and forth that we wouldn't allow in our own homes, or our own homes, or in my case, I would never allow in the council chambers, that the business of the people still needs to get done. And I struggle with the other levels of government that are always in constant conflict, and where the intentions are always good and honorable, we seem to lose that. And we're not, quite frankly, and it's only my opinion, we're not rowing in the same direction. It doesn't matter if you're not rowing at the same speed, but you got to be going in the same direction. And I struggle with the other levels of government as a level of government that deals with the individual members of our community on a daily basis, because everything that the municipal government delivers is stuff that you use every day. You know, you turn the tap on in the morning, you drive on a road, you come to a stoplight, you need an ambulance or a police officer or a firefighter at the lower tier municipalities. We deliver all those. We manage safe drinking water, we manage wastewater, but at the other levels of government, they manage other things. And it's frustrating that you know, they collect 50% of most of what everybody makes. They collect all of the HST, the sales tax. And you know, the only thing that we have at our level is property taxes. And every time that you need to do something, you have to go with your hand out asking for support from the other levels of government, where they get far more money from us as taxpayers than we do. And so I'm frustrated with that. I've got our team at the region working on an alternative plan to support the residents of communities across this country, and they're working on something that was presented at a committee meeting at the region a little while ago that could be a game changer for funding municipalities across this country. And those are the things that we're supposed to do. I'm supposed to make your life better. I'm not supposed to make your life complicated.
I think the direction of the governance got changed. It used to be a government servant doing a government service by the people and for the people. Now the message is how much I can make my party shine and get, like, you know, in the good books of the party leaders and all that.
You know, it's as a person who lives in this country, I get frustrated when I see the leaders of parties at each other, and at the municipal level too. It happens the same thing. That's not what this is about. It's not about one-upping each other. It's about helping each other. And you know, we need to think differently on how we're going to do that. You know, I can understand having those challenges in an election year, but we work in a 4-year cycle. It
Yes.
should be 3 solid years of getting the work done. And if politics gets into the last year, then that's it. I've always believed that our job is to make lives of our residents better and not complicate it. And I do, like most people, I am frustrated sometimes with the other levels of government, forgetting that it's about the people that cast the ballot. It's about the people that don't cast the ballot too. Because we live in a democracy. You can vote or you don't have to vote. There's no rules around that. But sometimes I watch question period and I'm sitting there and I'm going, really? Is this how it's going to be? Or if I read the paper, sometimes I express my disappointment. And then you've got great people. Yesterday or Friday morning, I was at the Clarington Board of Trade breakfast, where Aaron O'Toole, the politicians often give an annual address to the chamber,
Yeah.
where Aaron O'Toole announced that he was leaving his role in politics with the federal government. And Aaron has been someone who, he gave 10 years of his life to, or more than 10 years of his life by the time he went through school, but to the military, and is a veteran, and then 10 years of his life in the private sector, and now he's given, 10 years of his life as the leader of the Conservative Party and leader of the opposition. And, he's been a real shining example of what we're supposed to be like, right? And yet sometimes it's not like that. And I give Aaron great accolades for all that he's done and wish him great success in his next career. But I'm hoping people are watching.
People are watching.
And I hope that it's, we're a country of, in our national anthem in Canada, the word "we" is mentioned 4 times. We need to come back to a country of we.
That's it. You said it. It's $1 million line, sir. Nobody could say it better. We need to come back as a we. And this is not Canada. I tell you, I came here, then I studied in the Wayne State University in Detroit, and I've lived over there for 5-6 years of my life. So I've seen American culture very close in my youth, as well as Canada. And those kind of acts of politicians used to happen only in the States. But now I'm watching it all here in Canada. It just breaks my heart.
It worries me because there's so much good work that needs to be done, and it's here at the municipal level of government. We're every day we're dealing with the residents of our municipalities, and you get I do get frustrated when I see in business you wouldn't do that, in your family you wouldn't do that, so why do we do that?
Common sense. Simple as that. When you cannot do in business and family, why are you doing it in the governance? So definitely, hopefully, as you say, we wish to see change. And I want you to be the advocate of, to bring those words forward and through those media.
Well, I'm happy to do what I do, but I have, as I've said to other people, I love what I do, and I can do more as an elected representative as when I was in the Mayor of Oshawa or as the chair than I could ever do in other levels of government. And I don't want to study something for 4 years. I'm frustrated that and I know we're maybe off the topic of the question, but I don't need another study to tell me that we have a problem in homelessness, opiates, addictions, and mental health. What I need is a governance, all 4 parties, or all 4 levels of government in Durham, because we're an upper and lower tier, that understands that first, let's admit that we have a problem. So if there was a problem in every major city in this country from coast to coast to coast, and you have people that are living on the streets, or they're addicted to drugs, or they have mental health problems, and it's the same everywhere, then that's not a problem, that's a crisis. So call it what it is. And in programs that are out there, whether you're Alcoholics Anonymous or you're Narcotics Anonymous, one of the first things about recovery from those challenges of individuals is you have to admit that you have a problem. So we have a problem in this country. And one of the things is, first of all, let's admit that we have a problem. But more importantly, let's take some of the people, the leaders in this country, and put them in a room with some of our academics and some of the people that with lived experience, and find out, how did we get to where we are today? We can say we have homelessness and addictions and mental health, but that's today. But how did we get to today? What happened? Was it last year, 5 years ago, 10 years ago? Where did we fail to recognize the challenge? And then the next part is, once we've admitted we have a problem and we know what the cause is, then what is the plan to fix the cause? And if the cause is because we're not investing in enough money into schools or education or youth, let's go back and look at the problems that we're having. Let's admit we have a problem. Let's fix our relationships with the people that have, our indigenous people, the people that came here and helped build this country where we have challenges. It's time to sit down and have this big conversation. Let's do it around a kitchen table someplace. Let's not do it so that it's a frenzy within the media and it's about them or those, or it's about we. And the only way you're going to fix all these problems is if we come together as people, as society, and we say, here's the challenge. We need to put more money into schools. We need to put more money into after-school programs. We need to put more money into trades. We need to support. But let's have that conversation, because every challenge can be fixed.
By dialogue. I truly believe this.
But spending money on something that has no solution is not a solution. It's just money being spent. But spending money that creates a solution is money well spent.
Agreed. Patching things up doesn't make the...
No, you can put more police officers in communities where there's challenges on the street, but that doesn't fix the challenge.
America tried that. Detroit tried that. LA tried that. New York tried that.
Well, Seattle, Oakland, San Francisco have tried to deal with the homeless challenges in their communities and not been very successful. We need to look at the examples of places that were successful. How do you make things, I don't want to reinvent how to do it. I want to take the best of what's been out there already and put it together in a package that meets the needs of our community. And I'm not at a higher level of government, but I wish the other levels of government were doing the exact same thing. You cannot continue to fund the challenges on the street if you don't have a solution to fix it. Otherwise, you're just putting money on. It's like, somebody has been hurt and you put a Band-Aid on a hemorrhage. It doesn't work. You need to treat the root cause. You need to fix it. You need a plan. And together, this country's full of some incredibly talented, caring people that could come out and sit back and say, okay, then how much, if we've got this challenge today and it's going to cost X amount of money to fix it, weigh the cost of fixing it against today than not fixing it at all.
You're right.
And how do we take back our communities, our downtowns, and still allow these people to get back on a path that they need to get on to get them right to be, contributing to society. But, we've kind of lost our way. And, we've got incredibly caring, compassionate communities. All of our communities, all of our residents that are involved in these challenges. We've got every part of our community. It doesn't matter what community you're in Durham region, you are supporting those challenges now.
Correct.
And it doesn't matter whether you live in Ajax or Pickering or Oshawa. It doesn't matter what your religion is, where you come from. Everybody is contributing to help the problem, but we're not fixing the problem.
People like the politicians to fix the problem, but collectively they're not coming on the common ground to do it. And it becomes like individual interest rather than people interest.
Oh,
and that is worrisome.
I get lots of privileges with this job to go and meet with our communities and our very diverse community, and to see the great work they're doing within their own community and then outside of the community within the region to make the region a better place. But on the bigger challenges, and the biggest challenge in this country right now is mental health, opiates, addictions, and homelessness. Those are the four. And, you just need to look at the challenges that have happened in other major cities around the world. And now is the time to to take an action, and not one to just maintain it, but one to fix it. I'd like to be part of that solution.
Me too. And you can count me in anytime you need me. I'll make myself available.
Thank you.
So please tell me something about the free trade and the fair trade.
So we talked about this. I've talked about this a fair bit. The difference between free trade, and everybody wants free trade. You would be able to want to. So the government, we've got free trade agreements with a number of countries around the world. But fair trade, it comes to when you deal with those countries that that the people, the workers there, are covered by the same type of protections that our workers are covered by. So when you get a widget made in a country like made in Canada that costs $1, and you can get that same widget made in another country for 50 cents. You have to ask the question is were the people that made that widget in that other country, did they have supports if they got hurt? Did they have to wear the proper safety clothing? Were their families, was there help for their families if they were hurt and couldn't go back to work? So I often talk about when you talk about fair trade and free trade, in order to have free trade, there has to be fair trade. There has to be a way to make sure that the people in countries around the world are protected. And you know, we had mentioned it earlier when we were talking. The ship just when you reclaim a ship, you know, we have reclaiming that takes place in Canada is very different than the work that is done in other countries where they just, you know, run a ship up onto shore and the people cut it apart with torches and do all that. But you know, they don't have the proper safety equipment. They're wearing running shoes or no shoes. The environmental problems that come with dismantling that type of ship you know, it's hazardous to the environment. It's not healthy for the workers. And here we do it very differently. It's done very differently. That comes back to that point where just because it can be done there cheaper, are we really helping people? Are we helping the environment? Are we helping the people there? Are we protecting the families? So when you talk about free trade, you need to make sure that fair trade's part of that, and that if there's a worker that's in this country that has got certain rights and is protected, then those rights need to be extended to other countries because we're all people. And in the end, you know, people need to be able to raise their families and have a life. But you know, I watch those videos that you see on YouTube of dismantling ships, and it's it's not a safe business to be in a protected environment. But you're moving, you know, thousands of pounds of steel, and you've got all these chemicals that are in these ships. So it is a little disheartening when you watch some of that stuff, because the other part too is they're adjacent to the waterway that the ship came in on.
True.
And you've got all of the challenge in a world where we're trying to improve our environment. We need to do better. So I hope whoever watches this understands there's a difference between free trade and fair trade, and to make sure that if you're doing business someplace, that the widget that you're buying, that the employees that made it in that factory somewhere in the world had some of the rights that our factory workers have in this country.
I want to say thank you very much for your time, sir. Would you like to add on to anything else?
No, it's been a pleasure to be here today and for you to ask all these questions. And I truly think that we're in Durham. It's the best of time and a bright future for everyone, including our young people. And if I didn't think that, I wouldn't be doing the work that I do today.
You got it. I wish all politicians think and act like you, and we would be a happy and prosperous and humorous Canada we have always been.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. If you like this podcast, please subscribe my YouTube channel. I also want to say thank you to the Work Hub to give us this facility to record this podcast. So thank you, Work Hub. And if you want to join me as a guest in our next podcast, please don't hesitate to call and contact. Our phone number is 289-275-2147. And email is contact@digipixinc.com. Thank you.